I could just sit and wait for all your goodness, hope to feel your presence. And I could just stay right where I am and hope to feel you, hope to feel something again. To who I am and never let you change me from the inside. And I could be safe, I could be safe here in your arms and never leave home, never let these walls down. But you have called me higher, you have called me deeper, and I'll go where you will lead me, Lord. You have called me higher, you have called me deeper, and I'll go where you will lead me, Lord. Will you lead me? Will you lead me, Lord?
Hi everyone, welcome to this month's vlog in a bit of a different style. Talking to you from obviously Japan itself in our home. So we thought we'd just try something different this month. We asked if you guys had any questions about missionary life here or just how we've found the whole living experience living in a different country. And so we'd like to answer those questions today. So I guess we'll just go through them and answer. And
we've heard you. And we're going to be answering all your questions, all your many deep and wonderful questions today. It's going to be great.
Okay, so the first question I have here is, how many people have you converted to Christianity? 0. 0. There have been a lot of opportunities to share the gospel. Really, only the Holy Spirit can actually change people's hearts and open their eyes clearly, I guess, to see the truth of who God is. So, as for actually converting people, no one has been converted that we're aware of. However, we have had plenty of opportunities to do those other two things that Jesus requires of us, and that is that we've had opportunities to tell people the gospel, the good news about who Jesus is, and we've had opportunities to disciple people. The second question I have here is it nice in Japan? When are you coming back?
We're grateful you miss us. Is it nice in Japan? What do you reckon? You enjoying it in Japan?
I do enjoy it in Japan. Summer was very hot. I wouldn't say summer is my favourite month in Japan. I don't think I'm ever going to complain about a dry Adelaide 40-degree summer ever again after I've experienced Japan's intense humidity.
We've got you on record now, so if you ever do complain in future...
Yeah. Well, don't hold me to it, but...
Well, we will. We've got it on YouTube.
It's not on YouTube. Yeah, it is nice in Japan. That's our personal preference.
That it's nice.
Yeah.
I prefer it to be nice than not nice, yes.
When are we coming back? So our plan was actually, I say this, our plan, as in...
What part of this has been our plan?
Well, none of it. So our intention was really, we were going to try and see out the 11 months of our program that we were here under. So that had us coming back in February next year. However, plans have changed, and we really believe it's God's timing, because he's just been in control of this whole trip from the start. So we really believe he's still in control and will continue to be in control. But we are wrapping up our trip a little bit earlier. So we'll actually be heading back to Australia in November. So that just gives us about 2.5 months left here. And the reason for that is that we are actually expecting a baby. If you have not already heard along the grapevine somehow, baby Zerna is coming in early March next year. And what is your favourite part about Japan, and have you made any friends yet? What's your favourite part about Japan?
Favorite part about Japan? I think making friends is one of the best parts about Japan. We have been fortunate enough to make a lot of friends here in Japan, and particularly in our neighbourhood. And it's been a great experience. We come from very different walks in life, and it's been great to hear their stories and just hear how they've grown up, how they do life. You know, there's so many different ways we grow up thinking the way that we've done it is the way that you do life, but a lot of different people do things very differently, and it's been great to be able to share those journeys with each other and come together and bring our different experiences and just connect and converse and make friends. It's been great.
Next question. What is the weather like? What's your favourite food? Where's your favourite place in Japan, and what's the style? That's probably like 5 questions in one.
Right.
Yeah. So the weather. Well, we already talked about summer. It's hot and humid, and not great. Just not really great.
The rest of the year's quite lovely.
Yeah.
Summer's a struggle.
Today is cool. First time wearing long sleeves in about like 3 or 4 months. So that's quite nice.
And also quite a lot wetter. If you're tuning in from Australia, particularly in the dry areas of Australia, you'd be quite surprised at how wet it gets here. And everything actually, nature loves it. It's just soaking up all this moisture. So it's very green here. And it does rain quite regularly, which is another difference we've noticed coming from Australia.
What's our favourite food? I'm assuming that's
Japanese food
Japanese
or
food.
like hamburgers. Do they count? Okay.
Japanese food.
Japanese food. Rice. Nutritionist and simple.
Nutritionist. There's a new word for
Nutritious.
you. Nutritious and simple. Favorite food? Every Japanese food, pretty much, except for natto. Fermented soybeans still have not mastered that.
The smell or the texture.
Everything about it.
Everything.
Even when I see it.
It's got no chance of being a favourite.
No. Sashimi, udon noodles.
Raw fish.
Yeah.
Hot noodles in broth.
Favorite place in Japan? My favourite place in Sendai, though, is probably a town that's about 20 minutes up the road from us called Akiu. And that's just really nice. It's like you just drive through the mountains. It's very old style, lots of cute little restaurants and shops. It's an onsen town, so you can go to the hot springs. They have an excellent pizza.
Oh, they do, yes.
Yeah, best, this is a big statement, best pizza ever.
On record again as saying best pizza.
Sorry. Next question. How do people there react when they hear you speak Japanese?
How do they react?
Yeah.
Relieved. Relieved sometimes. Confused sometimes. They don't always expect. They tend to often be less talkative, particularly to strangers, than maybe we're used to in the West. And that's not bad. They're just kind of surprised, A, that are strangers talking to them, and B, that they're a foreigner. So we get the confused face as well. But if you're in a shop or something and looking to buy something and you can speak a little bit, relieved.
Relieved.
It's probably
and excited.
Yes.
Is time different? No, we're only about 30 minutes behind you guys. What's the best thing you've done? That's a good question. What's the best thing you've done?
It is a good question. The best thing.
Yeah.
The best thing you've done.
Like the most fun thing? Our most favourite
like
fun
best
thing?
on what level?
Yeah.
The most fun thing we've done.
Oh, there's been a lot. Number one best thing? I really, really liked the aquarium.
Oh, the aquarium. Yes, we did go to the aquarium.
The aquarium was really cool. There was a free dolphin show, and one of the dolphins lifted the trainer out of the water and she flipped in the air. That
was like she had jetpacks just
on a dolphin.
It was good.
Yeah. That was my I think that's been my favourite thing.
Yeah.
Is that your favourite thing?
Oh, mine would probably be finding wild boar and running for our lives from them.
Oh, yes. Do share.
That was good fun. Well, we recently noticed, it'd be a couple of months ago now, on the playground in a local park, a new sign had been put up to say, if you notice any wild boar in the area, please contact the local council. And I'm thinking, well, what do they want to do with the boar? I don't think the meat's very good. But anyway, they wanted to let them know. So we thought, well, we've never seen wild boar before, so this must be a rarity. So I don't think there's really any. Japan tends to be quite cautious, so let's, whatever. So we didn't really change our habits or think anything much of it. And we used to do walks in the evening time, just as we debrief from the day and things like that. And this particular night, we were walking at night, and it was getting quite dark. And we have a walk. Part of our walk goes. I wouldn't say
it's past a forest. It's not in a forest.
It wasn't like dense woodland, but there's a path that goes past the forest. And we were just walking up this hill and just talking and having a good time as we were walking. And all of a sudden we hear this explosion of leaves and kerfuffle on the edge of this road, between the road and the forest, and then a shadow just hightail it into the woods. And I wanted to stop and maybe set up a picnic and have a photo and things like that, but my arm got tugged and we were out of there faster than I'd ever seen someone move before as we hightailed it down that road. And it took us a long time to get back into that walk track ever since. But we think we saw a wild boar.
We just go during the day now.
It was good fun.
We don't go at dusk. It was not good fun. I've never run so fast in my life. Probably won't be able to run that fast again, but it was terrifying. That makes for a good story.
It was nostalgic. It was like reading the Asterix comics again. I thought maybe if we could collect the wild boar, we could take it back to the community and celebrate.
We're not vegetarian. Okay. Where do we? What do you eat there? A mix of Japanese food, Western style food. We've been to McDonald's. We've been to KFC.
The menus are different.
The menus are different, and I would argue some items are better.
You can get a burger made totally out of rice, so instead of a bread bun, they make it out of rice.
That was not what I was thinking was maybe one of the better menu options, but that is
we haven't tried it, but we have seen it.
Our next question is, what does it feel like to live in Japan? It feels like...
What does it feel
like?
It
feels like you stick out a bit. Not because people are rude or leave you out. That's not the case at all. But Australia is very multicultural. So you have people from all over the world living in Australia. That's the norm. In Japan, majority of people, particularly at the moment, because of COVID and Japan's border rules and things like that, most people are Japanese. We are the only foreigners in our community. So when I go grocery shopping, I stick out. I literally am taller than most of the people, which is surprising because I'm not really that tall. We clearly look different. We don't look Japanese at all.
In fact, it's so rare to have foreigners in this area. A fun game when you go into the shopping centre is to count the number of double takes people give you when they realise that you're a foreigner. You get someone who's in their own world pushing their trolley cart or something, and then they get a glimpse of a foreigner and start keeping a tally maybe of how many double takes we get. But you do feel taller. We do feel taller because genetically, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
So feel tall. Yeah, it's great. Rare.
What tools have you used to help you with your language barriers? That's a really good question. Many a tool has been used to help us.
Because none is perfectly adequate.
None is perfectly adequate, and neither are our language skills perfectly adequate.
Well, that's a given.
Yeah. So we both have dictionary apps on our phone. that we use to look up words.
We're not rude when we're talking to Japanese people, just trying to understand what they're saying.
Tools that we've used. Kind of depends on the situation. If it's a situation where we need to translate something really quickly, or, you know, have a lot of time, I really like, you don't like this, but I really like using Google Lens, which is just on the Google Translate app, and you can use the camera mode. And if you hold it up to whatever it is you're trying to read, it will convert the language for you. So I wouldn't say it's perfect. I mean, it's Google Translate. It's not going to be perfect, but if you're in if you're in a pinch, and you need to translate something fast, I have used that. Other tools that we've used, so we have actually been attending language classes while we've been here as well. We go to a free conversation class at least once a week, twice a week if we can make it, and that you just paired up with a Japanese person and you just dialogue for an hour. You can bring language questions if you have them and ask them. But yeah, that's pretty fun. It's very laid back.
It's a free
casual
service as well. It's like a free one-on-one session with a teacher. It's been really great.
Yeah. And also we attend a textbook-based class once a week for about an hour and a half. So they actually tested our levels before we entered, and then they put us in a class that they thought would be appropriate. And so, yeah, that's some of the other things we've tried to do. We self-study whenever we get time. Trying to use context to try and understand as well. I think.
But that's also what's missing from things like dictionaries and stuff, is you can look up words, but the context around when you use that word, the nuances of when it's appropriate to use that word are usually missing. So that's where the value of being in country comes, because you get context around the words that you learn.
Yeah. Any other tools that we've used? At church and Bible study and things like that, we have a bilingual Bible. So you've got the Japanese and then the English right next to it. That's really helpful. And then for things like we've had to obviously make doctor's appointments and things, there is free translation services. So you can ring up like the International Centre that's here in the city and basically do like a three-way conversation. So you can talk to the translation service people in English, and then they'll translate and talk to the Japanese doctor's office or whatever in Japanese for you, and then relay it back. So there's translation services like that when you need. And then as far as just getting to know people doing everyday life, just using what language you do have, even if you can't form the sentence perfectly, we've found that people generally can pick up what you're trying to say, even if you can just use some keywords. And
80% of your communication is body language, right? So you do a funny dance when you're face to face, and you can usually put it together. So it's can be a fun little game of charade sometimes, but we get there.
Yeah. Okay, so these are some ministry questions.
Okay, good.
What's the most exciting thing that has happened, or that you praise God for the most since arriving?
Wow, most exciting thing. Most praiseworthy thing. Hey? What do you reckon?
I would say just that people have come to our ministries.
Why have they kept coming? We don't know, but
so just the way that God has given us people to connect with and helped us with those connections, even though there are language barriers. I would say that's what I praise God for, and just his faithfulness it's not easy living in a different country. You know, the first little while was because everything was exciting and new and like it's like a holiday. But then when you actually get into life and you know you don't have your normal friends and family around you, and you can't necessarily always contact people easily or whatever, it does get really tricky, and you can sometimes feel really isolated because you've got friends here, but to communicate with a lot of those friends, you have to use Japanese, and that can be really exhausting. It can be super exhausting to just, you know, go and do a day where you're immersed in another language, and you can feel kind of isolated because you can't, you know, share everything that you want to share with someone or things like that. And so, in all of that, though, I don't think we've been so discouraged that we just can't, you know, continue anymore. I think we've really experienced God's faithfulness and goodness, and we've learnt to sort of, I guess, rely on Him for our encouragement and sustainment rather than the people around us. And so, yeah.
Which is in accordance with God's promises, right? Like He never puts you through something that He won't walk with you through and help you through it. So it's been testament to God keeping His promise that we've never really got to a situation where we just can't go on anymore. This is so difficult. But we've been tired and things have been hard, but God has sustained us through all of those things.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that's the point, right? That you come to know God, you come to understand His promises through this journey. So it's been great.
How have you connected with people in your community? Do you want to explain what we're doing here?
What we're doing in terms of our approach to ministry here.
Yeah. What is it that we actually do? We don't just eat sushi.
So we're essentially looking at just doing life with people here and being God's ambassadors, if you like, in this community, and taking every opportunity we can to get around the Bible and use the Bible really to reveal the one that the Bible talks about, which is God and the Trinity and the salvation that has been brought to us by Jesus. And so we're really just looking at walking with people, getting to know people, praying into their lives, looking for opportunities if they have needs that we can minister to, looking to how we can bring the presence of God into their needs in their life, and then walking and sharing the gospel with them. So we really, it doesn't matter if they're a Christian or not, we just get around the Bible together at every opportunity that we can and just talk about it and just talk about how the Bible is still relevant today and how it can impact our lives today, not just today, but for all eternity as well. And so we're really just looking at being that presence, that fragrance, if you like, of Christ in the community that has no fragrance, that has no presence of God in this area. Being that light, as it talks about in the Bible, not hiding that light, but shining it and but letting God draw people in, letting God create use His timing and His opportunity, create opportunities for us to engage with people. So, you know, we're really trying to live out, I guess, the sense of the Great Commission, where we're just looking to understand what it means to make disciples and trying our best to work through that process while we're here.
So I guess what that practically looks like is, so on a Wednesday afternoon, we go and sit in the park, which is across the road from our house, and we play some worship songs, and we have a devotional time and a prayer time. And the idea of that is to just speak truth into the community, to bless the community with the good news of who Jesus is through the words of the songs, through the devotion that is spoken, the prayers that are prayed. So we usually have one of our English class families will come along to that. Sometimes other people just sort of walk past. They might stop for a little bit and just listen. Maybe they're thinking, who are these wacky Westerners? Who knows? Maybe they're actually listening to the words of the songs. That's what we're praying for. But yeah, so we have that. It's a very casual time, and then we just play together after. So usually there's kids that come and there's a playground. We do some bubbles, play frisbee, balloon, animals, just hang out, just have family time, I guess. On a Thursday morning, we meet with a lady who comes and does English class with us. So we are using a ESL program that is going through the Gospel of John, but it's teaching the Bible, but also teaching conversational English at the same time. So we do a bit of a mix of Japanese and English in a little Bible study with her.
Mm-hmm.
And then Saturday is probably the big day. Saturday we have two ministries that run back to back. So the first is we have a children's English class in the afternoon for about an hour. So what that looks like is we've been learning how to introduce ourselves in English. We do an English Christian song. So we've been learning My God is So Big at the moment. Yep. They really love the actions to that song. And then we do a Bible story. We do the Bible story in Japanese so that they can understand. And then we do a craft after that goes with the story to help them remember what the story was about. And then over that time, we might talk about some English words as they're doing their craft, or when they finish their craft early, we have a whole heap of different English activities like numbers and letters and things like that they can just play. They've got Play-Doh, and we've got like little whiteboards that you can write on, and we just have fun together with that. And then on the back of that ministry is an adults English Bible discussion time. So we would really love the parents who come to kind of connect in with that. We haven't had any parents stay on from the kids' English class yet for that, but we do have another girl that joins in with that English class. And basically, because she already comes to the children's English class and hears that story, we reread the same Bible story, but we do it in English, and then we just we dialogue about that. We have some really simple questions, so we come up with an English summary of the story first of all, and then we ask three main questions, which is, what did you learn from the story? What are you going to do about what you've learnt? And do you know anyone else who needs to hear the message of this story? And so then we just discuss, we dialogue about that, we pray together, and that's basically our time. So our weeks are filled with preparation for those things, as well as helping to maintain the property that's here that these ministries run in, letterbox dropping to the community with gospel booklets and flyers to invite people to come along and let people know that these ministries are happening, as well as connecting in with the church that we are associated with here. So that's our life.
And none of those were really in detail planned out before we came, right? Like they all kind of organically just came about based on who God brought along our path. And so we didn't come in with some great plan or anything like that, but just looking at using the skills that God had given us and the opportunities and the people that He brought, and sort of just creating these opportunities or fleshing them out and looking at using them to minister to the people that we are building relationships with at the same time.
And there's been other incidental opportunities to connect with neighbours and things, like when your power goes out and you don't have the language skills to be able to ring the power company, so you have to go and...
That's a great opportunity to get to know some people.
To go and meet your neighbours. All right, and our final question is, have people been interested in the Bible or Jesus?
Have they been interested? Yeah, so have they seen the relevance of what we're trying to share with them, or are they just kind of disengaging from that and just focusing on the English portion or the conversational portion, I guess, might be what that's asking.
I would say people have been interested. We haven't had a huge amount of people coming to ministry, but the people that do come are interested, I think. No one's forcing them to come. There's no sign up subscription that it's like you have to, attend this many sessions if you have to commit.
But also nobody's asked to change the program. It's like, I don't really want to learn about the Bible. Can we learn about something else?
Yeah. No, and I would say that I think we've seen people's interest grow because people actually ask questions about the stories or what they're learning, things like that, adults and children included, in that time. So I would say people have been interested. It's challenged me actually to think about, when we go back home, are there people in my local area or our local area that would actually be interested in reading the Bible together or, learning about Jesus? But I've just never asked because I've assumed that they wouldn't be interested.
Well, which is what we've learned here, right? We've kind of assumed they wouldn't be interested.
But then there were.
But then they were.
And so, that's kind of got me thinking about, how can I be intentional when I go back home? If you're a Christian, mission is not limited to whether you're a missionary or not. If you're living a Christian life, you should be doing mission 24/7. Like, Christianity is a lifestyle, right? It's not something you do on a Sunday. It is life. It is your life. It's the new life that Jesus gives to you. So how are you going to use that new life? How are you going to be intentional about where it is God has placed you and what you're going to do with those opportunities? Because He's presented you with opportunities. If you don't know what they are, ask Him because they're there. And so that's really challenged me thinking about neighbours back home.
I think they've been more surprised maybe than not interested. Like when we talk about the Bible and share some of these stories, and they're like, whoa, a little bit of confusion at first because we expected they didn't know much about the Bible. We probably didn't really fully understand how little background they'd had about the Bible. So we're reading these stories and they're really a lot of confusion, but a lot of surprise as well. And, that makes sense because the Bible is a fascinating book. Like, there's some really crazy stuff that happens in the Bible. And to kind of think, like, this is all history, this all happened. We had that question from someone once. It's like, what we're reading here, is this history, is it? And we're like, yeah, man, this stuff actually happened. And, to have that context and then to sort of get your head around some of the just miraculous stuff that happened in the Bible, I think it is an interesting book. And maybe we don't, having grown up with it, give it enough credit for just how interesting it is, particularly for someone who's never heard it before. And obviously the Bible is, again, laced with the fragrance of God. Like, it's a special book. And so what we've been trying to do is just let God speak through His book to people and draw them in. And as we've just gotten around these fascinating stories, there's really mind-bending stories at times and just dialoguing together. I think it's been surprisingly fun and exciting to get with people and just sort of talk around it, around the Bible.
So that was all the questions we had for today. So we hope that you have enjoyed, and I hope we answered your questions clearly. I think that
missionaries are not really that weird, right? Like, they're just kind of normal people who have just decided to shift what they're doing for a period of time and sort of be focused on Christ.
I would say, though, it's really hard to measure the change that's perhaps occurring in other people.
Mm.
But I know 100% that there's been change in my heart, in my relationship with God, the way that I understand who He is, and
100%.
I don't think we'll ever have a full understanding of God until we see Him face to face in heaven one day. But that's my takeaway. God has revealed Himself in a new and a fresh way on this trip, and it's been exciting, and we're really looking forward to getting back and sharing in person with you some of the great stories that God has been orchestrating here, and earlier than planned. So
Bonus.
so yeah, we hope that you've enjoyed this. We hope that it's been informative and enjoyable for you to watch. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you in person soon. Bye.
I could just sit and wait for all your goodness, hope to feel your presence. And I could just stay right where I am and hope to feel you, hope to feel something again.